We're streaming. Bum, bum, bum,
Yo,
bum,
let's do like
bum.
a clean 30, all right?
Yeah.
Just because
In and out.
it's starting to hit me again.
Yeah, nah, you got to get under the covers, get you some emergency and some airborne and some fucking whatever else, other Vicks and
Yeah.
Robitus and all that.
Mm.
But here
Mm.
we are. The show is live. A rare non-Thursday show. Super Bowl is in the books. We had our little prop and parlay show last Thursday. I think a couple of those did okay. None of the parlays hit, but I think a couple of the bets did well. My
There
best
was
bet did
there was a
not do
lot of
well.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny because obviously Kenneth Walker did not go under any of his anything,
Yeah.
but first, before we get into the bets that we made and didn't make, general thoughts on the game. For me, obviously, I think it was a lackluster game in terms of excitement. I there was a point in the game where I turned and I switched and I got angry. I got angry with the Patriots and I just wanted to see them get destroyed.
Mhm.
Like rather because once it became clear to me that they didn't even belong in that game, they had no shot
Mhm.
and they were completely overwhelmed and
Which is odd
overmatched.
because that means you were so right the whole time, you know?
Yeah, but I was mad. I wasn't right because I didn't think they were that bad. They were
Yeah.
way less competitive than I thought they would be.
And way
Like,
less competitive than what the score indicates as well.
yes, exactly. And the other thing was that got me frustrated was I understood a lot of the deficiencies. Obviously, we had all the data, we had all the statistics, and we understood sort of what they were going to go up against in terms of the how good the Seahawks defense was. But I was very, very disappointed in the coaching. I thought my sort of the way that I was talking myself into the Patriots being able to keep it close was I just felt like they should have had a significant coaching advantage, given the coaching staff, given the experience. Obviously, they have lots of championship experience in these Super Bowl type games. So I just felt like it was very hard for me when I have a experienced coaching staff that I respect that has made it all the way to the Super Bowl. So obviously, although we have pointed out all of the sort of kind of good fortunate things that have led to them getting to the Super Bowl, they made it there nonetheless. Drake May, Mr. I've been arguing with people for weeks about how Drake May, I've been hearing from everybody about he's an MVP, and I'm like, yo, if he's this, he's been doing it all year with his legs and I heard people saying, "Oh, well, the offensive line has been bad all year. He's been running for his life. He's making the plays." Okay, well, in this game, he didn't do any of that. He looked
Mm.
completely overwhelmed, and I just thought that I really believe that Josh McDaniels and Mike Vrabel would have had a better game plan or some tricks up the sleeve or something to offset the problems that Seahawks defense could not have caught you by surprise. That pass rush could not have caught you by surprise. Your
Mm.
offensive line deficiencies could not have caught you by surprise. But it just looked like they had no plan.
Yeah. Um yeah, man, just the way that game started, I think kind of like it was almost like they kind of like a boxer like hitting another boxer with a haymaker. Like the first thing, it's like, okay, like I have to reorganize myself, and I think everything was just moving too fast to kind of get his feet back under him. So I don't know, man. I just feel like I feel like that was kind of like what I was saying the whole time. Like it kind of went like how people thought in the beginning the game was going to go. And as the time went on, the week went on, it felt like just people were trying to convince themselves that this was that the Patriots are back. And um, it just felt like they were getting a little bit too much credit and kind of which happens, whatever. But when you have 2 weeks, you start overthinking everything, and you can't just keep saying the same thing. And it just kind of felt like that was kind of like there was a strange turn at some point where it was like, oh, the Patriots. I plenty of people are like, yeah, the Patriots are gonna win this game, and I'm like, oh, okay. Like I heard a lot of that. Like even just listening to the random jobbers on the radio, like during Saturday and Sunday driving around, and it's just like listening to that. It's like like I just felt like a lot of people. This is not what you were saying when it first happened. It felt more like fan talk. Um, and I don't know, man. Drake May, like I said, I feel like he got kind of shook up from the beginning of the game, and they just kept coming. Devon Witherspoon was going crazy. Like I just feel like that defense, man, it just ate him for breakfast, man.
Completely ate him for breakfast, and like I said, I if I knew that they were gonna just go into it and try to play it completely straight up the way that they seemed to do, they were dead. They were dead. It was so early on that you knew. Like once I saw that they didn't really have a plan, they were. They were trying to get Ramondre Stevenson the ball early on. He couldn't really find any room. I don't know if they were trying to hope that he could break a play and open things up for them, but he wasn't ever going anywhere against the Seahawks, and they just seemed to have no kind of plan to help get Drake May comfortable, to help open some things up. I didn't see any pick plays. I didn't see anything. I just saw, okay, Drake May drop back and try to find a guy like
Do your magic.
traditional. Yeah, do your magic. And I was like, I just I really thought Josh McDaniels with his experience, I thought that he would have more of a game plan, because obviously I don't want to be too ridiculous and I don't want to discredit this or take anything away from the Seahawks defense, because obviously they were dominant and they dominated pretty much everybody this season. And in the past, in recent years, we've seen what happens in some of these Super Bowls when a team just completely gets beat up front. We saw it last year. Obviously, Andy Reid, great coach, couldn't really figure out a way to open things up for the Chiefs offense, although they were better last year offensively than the Patriots were. But we've seen what it can be like when you're just completely overmatched with your O-line and you just can't get it done. But I don't know, man. I just really thought that they would have had some type of wrinkle, some type of, whether it was a flea flicker or something. I just didn't see any kind of creativity. It just seemed like the same Drake May that I've been watching all year that holds onto the ball forever. It didn't seem like they had anything specific. And like we talked about it, because remember I was saying like, nothing that, like, there's a lot of people that are basing their kind of takes and their bets and all that shit based off of all of the data that's been collected throughout the regular season this year. And I was like, I don't know if I necessarily expect them to go into this game with the same game plan that they've been going into, week in and week out. I expect them to try to do something a little bit different. I thought you'd see some more quick throws. I just didn't see anything. And
they did exactly what we were saying. Like, they did exactly what we were saying that the Seahawks would be prepared for.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's funny because I asked Adriel last night, like, what did he end up with rushing yards? And it was 37 on the dot.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, it was 37 and a half. And it was mad funny because it's like...
And it was funny because by kickoff, that will go down in the history books as him going over. Because he went over the closing prop line for his rushing yards, and pretty much every book ended up finishing at 34 or 35 and a half.
Yeah, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, did I say like 35? If it went down to 35, that's when I
think that was your threshold. Yeah. No, you were right. You were all over that. That was, could not have been more spot on.
Yeah, I'm mad that the final score one. A couple of things here and there, and that kind of and that was pretty close as well. But just I just felt like that was my original thing, and like I'll go back. I just felt like that's kind of like how I saw the game going. Like at the end of the game, because that's when also Drake May got his interception, trying to make something happen. It's
Hmm.
kind of like they pretty much did everything. Like if we, it's like it's funny because you can go back and kind of see pretty much everything that we said that the Seahawks would try to do and prepare for. That's what happened, and it's like, yeah, if we're able to say that, like, what do you expect this mastermind to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, it just felt like maybe they went in a little bit arrogant and kind of like said, yeah, this is what's got us here, and this is what we're gonna do.
Yeah, yeah, that definitely surprised me. I thought I was gonna see and like I said, I like we were talking about when we were talking about the first quarter, first half unders, and I was like, I like the Patriots to at least be able to score a field goal in the first quarter because I was like, I think that the predicted scripted offense would be the Patriots' best opportunity to move the ball downfield. A fully coached up, scripted drive by Josh McDaniels and Vrabel with what you knew what to expect in the beginning of the game against the Seahawks defense. I thought that they would take that opportunity to put something together to get some points on the board. And it just looked like they never had anything. Like they came out super conservative in the first drive. I thought maybe they're going to try to work their way into it, and then it just seemed like for the whole first half, and really ended up being for the whole game, they just had no answers. And I don't know if that. I will say this: I don't want to hear the excuses of. I don't want to hear the excuses of the O line, and I don't want to hear the excuses of a bad Drake May shoulder. Those are the two things I'm not
Yeah.
interested in.
And you know what's mad funny? I was gonna mention because it kind of it annoyed the hell out of me because like obviously I'm big on like the way that certain teams are covered by their own coverage, and obviously being a draft guy, over the weekend I think it was on Saturday, the thing that popped up was a 2025 redraft of the first round. And yeah, I click on it just to see, just to see like how players are evaluated by like their own, their own beat or whatever. And it gets to pick number 4 or 5 or whatever it was for the Patriots, and they ended up picking Will Campbell again. And like it was Mike Reese, and like the explanation that he gives for Will Campbell is like solidifying him that yeah, that was the right pick over Membo, who by that you can look up any metrics or whatever, like as an offensive lineman was way better, but it's just but just doubling down and just like like yeah, he is the great player that they expected him to be. So now all of a sudden, like everybody has this like, oh, they like Drake May was the MVP, and all of a sudden now there's excuses for him. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's like the same people that make because I make fun of all the players that get excuses made for them too. That's why I'm big on like Josh Allen. Like that's why I have my quabbles with how Josh Allen is covered. But at the same time, you'll see a bunch of Patriots and fans or whatever, and they'll make fun of how Josh Allen gets all this like excuse making for him, and then to turn around and it's like, oh yeah, they're going to be back better than ever. He just had his hand, this and that, and I'm like, oh okay, yeah, whatever, guy. Like this is not like you had Dave Portnoy on, tweeting out that like, oh yeah, I'm civil when I win and when I lose and stuff like. I'm like, yo, get the fuck out of here. Like you niggas like you don't even know what the meaning of humble is. Like yeah, like you're just big crybabies. You know what I'm saying? So it's like always, it's not like they lost. It's somebody did something that caused us to lose.
Yeah, yeah. I will give of all the ridiculous Boston truthers, I will give Bill Simmons credit because I could not wait to hear his podcast after the Super Bowl to drink up his tears. And and he laid down. He wasn't making excuses. He actually might have been a little too. He might be a little too far. Like he was talking like, yo, I don't know, Dre might not have it. We might still be looking for a quarterback. I was like, oh shit, this nigga's like going a completely opposite direction. But I remember like the show before, like leading up to the Super Bowl, he's like, oh, you know, I can't. I love that everyone's picking Seattle, giving us no chance. Like he was real convinced that like the you know, the Patriots were being sort of undersold or whatever. And you know, I just and like again, I give him credit because as much as he was sort of trying to find ways to push back and May should be the MVP and this it's not just the schedule and all that shit. Last night's show. He laid the sword down. He said the schedule is fair. He was like, I don't know about May. He was like, Will Campbell, they might need to move him to guard. He was like, he was ready to switch everything up.
You know what that is? That's my bad.
Yeah, that's really what it was. Yeah, it was crazy. But I mean, I just feel like, and I know that a lot of people they're still gonna hold on to the whole, well, it's a regular season award. It may be a regular season award, but we can at least I feel like we should all at least agree there is a narrative component to the award too. And for me, that was always the thing. It was just that I watched Drake May. I watched the way that he was coached. I watched the way that he played. He just was not he didn't have an MVP season to me. Like if you look at the numbers and obviously the team record, MVP season, but to me, like when you have another legitimate candidate, I feel like Matt Stafford, again, from a narrative standpoint, because if narrative is not a component, then Josh Allen had no business winning last year. So if I'm going to accept Josh Allen as last year's MVP, I'm going to accept and acknowledge that there is a narrative component to the award because by no definition should Josh Allen have won the MVP over Lamar Jackson last year. He didn't even get fucking first team All-Pro. So how does that even make sense?
Yeah, it's funny because that's kind of like the thing I mentioned with for the MVP as well, like the Super Bowl MVP, where it's like, you know, Sam Darnold didn't get it. Obviously, he wasn't good enough to get it anyway. But I'm just saying that like that was kind of like he already had that narrative he had a chance established. To get it. Yeah, because he did. It was like the thing that I didn't like was a couple of those passes.
The fact that he had a touchdown, no picks, and Kenneth Walker never found a way to get in the end zone. He had that one call back, so he finishes the day with a good performance, put up a lot of yards, never put any points on the board. I could see a path to the voters still finding a way to give it to Darnold. But I do think it was rightfully Ken Walker. And the one thing I as much as I didn't get the prop right, I did say I was like, I don't see him getting over 100 all-purpose yards. If he gets to over 100 all-purpose yards, he's going to be the Super Bowl MVP. I was like, I don't hear anybody even suggesting that he's going to have a chance of winning the Super Bowl MVP. I heard most likely Darnold. I heard Jackson Smith and Jigba. I heard a defensive player. I heard a lot of things. I didn't really hear a ton of people caping up for the Kenneth Walker Super Bowl MVP ticket. But yeah, I mean, once he went over, and that was the other thing. I mean, as much as people are criticizing Drake May and Will Campbell are sort of like the main sort of I guess victims here of taking the abuse and the blame for the loss. Where was this fucking you can't run on them with Milton Williams rush defense? They got destroyed. They were getting bullied up front by the Seahawks O-line, and I don't know that the Seahawks O-line is this top unit in the NFL. He had so much time to dance behind the line and figure out which hole he was gonna go through. At no point did the defensive line of the Patriots get any type of like penetration and run defense.
Even
That
the
run defense
linebackers.
looked trash. That run defense,
Yeah.
they needed to have every safety and secondary player come up front to help stop with the rush because their front unit was getting abused. And all I kept hearing leading up to the game was how when Patriots have Milton Williams, you can't run on them.
Yeah, I know, and they conveniently leave out that, you face two of the teams that have, the last two teams that you faced. Even the Chargers game, like all these teams, because Omarion Hampton didn't. I don't think he played much, and then you have
No, I
Woody
think he got like
Marks.
2 snaps. He was hurt.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Then you had Woody Marks, and then you had fucking whatever
You
Vela,
had Woody
not
Marks who
Vela.
left the game with an injury. You didn't even have you
That,
had
yeah,
Woody
yeah,
Marks,
exactly.
and then you had the carcass of Nick Chubb.
Yeah, and then you had with my guy
You
that always
had
scores
R.J.
touchdowns.
Harvey in the snow.
Yeah, exactly. And we're talking about a small guy that once you get mitts on him, he's not the powerful guy that's going to break out.
Yeah, of
So
course.
you didn't really face like they were given credit without kind of the context of their opponent in that thing that they were getting credit for.
Yeah. And the thing is that and that's why the Patriots fans come off like such fools today, because anytime somebody tried to provide context for any of the numerous things that they benefited from this season, they got all fucking tight about it. If you mention the schedule, oh well, with the DVOA, you should say the defenses are the same, blah blah blah. If you mention the weather, oh well, it didn't really help us. We both had to play in the weather, even if it wasn't the weather, it still would have went the same way. Like, they push back on any type of context that if anybody tried to provide it, and now you just look stupid because I don't know how you come away from that game looking at like they were not. I mean, obviously they made it to the Super Bowl. They won the games they needed to win, but all of the circumstances dictated that they were not a Super Bowl team. They had no business in that game. Like that was a joke. That was embarrassing.
And they didn't. And it's not like they ran it up either. It's like they played a very conservative game that it could have gotten a lot uglier.
They played a bad game. Like the Seahawks played a bad. I mean, offensively they played a bad game, and that game was so far apart from what the score is, and like they dominated them by playing a bad game, in my opinion. Especially at least on offense, for sure. I feel like they had plenty of opportunities on offense. They continued to stay conservative.
And I mean, obviously, they have a good secondary, but it just felt like Darnold was a tiny bit like a split second late on all of the plays that could have been big plays. And then, on the one to Rashid Shaheed, a slight overthrow.
Credit too.
Yeah, he
really played.
Killed it.
I mean, you could make the argument that he single-handedly kept that shit from being a blowout because he made a couple of plays.
Two touchdowns
exactly.
at least.
Yeah, exactly. Which much to my chagrin, because I had Sam Darnold throwing 2 touchdowns in that game, and it never ended up happening. But yeah, I mean, so now we got to see what happens. The one last thing I wanted to do before we go, I wanted to ask you, because I was looking at the odds for next year already, of course. Have you looked at them at all?
I just saw that, I saw that the Seahawks were up there and the Rams were 2, and then the Bills were 5 or something like that.
So what I wanted to do, because I put together, they already have the odds for division winners as well, and I already put together a parlay for division winners, and I wanted to ask your thoughts on a couple of these, because I was thinking about, I wanted to try to look ahead to possible division winners for next year and base it on so many of the coaching changes that have taken place, right? So I was thinking to myself, which team in each division has the best coach going into next year?
Yeah.
And there were a couple of divisions that I thought were kind of hard. I couldn't really confidently say any. And I felt like a couple of them, I felt like there was a I was almost surprised at how clear I felt like the best. Like, for instance, can you make a case that Mike McCarthy's not the best coach in the AFC North? Because you
Uh,
got two new
I think you can until
coaches
further. Yeah.
and Zach Taylor.
Yeah.
And just that
That's
alone, I
not a
was
bad
like, yo, the
take.
Steelers, because like my first reflex is like, I'm not taking the Steelers to do anything next for the foreseeable future until they seem to change their ineptitude and mediocrity. But then I was
Hmm.
thinking, when I started to look at it from a coaching standpoint, I was like, as much as I'm not into what the Steelers have going on, and I still probably wouldn't. I think value wise, I would probably take the Bengals to win the division. But I was thinking like, yo, the Steelers actually have the best coach in the division, and if I'm trying to like mirror this year and try to find like who's going to be next year's Seahawks, who's going to be next year's Patriots, who's going to be next year's Texans or whatever, or Bears, teams that kind of came out of nowhere or whatever. I
Hmm.
was like, I'm going to have to put a little circle on and keep an eye on the Steelers for potentially filling one of those slots just
Yeah.
because I feel like they have the best coach in the division. Obviously, we still don't even know who their quarterback is going to be. And we can't assume that they'll have the same sort of fortune, the same sort of automatic,
Yeah.
winning record that they did. I was initially ready to just fade everything Steelers going into next
Hmm.
season. But the more I thought about it, I was like, let me not be too reflexive just because I don't like what they're doing. Because the fact of the matter is, I don't necessarily believe in Todd Monken. I don't know. I think Jesse Minter, he was obviously highly regarded, but he's a first-time head coach with what I think is a probably overrated situation, or at minimum complicated situation.
Hmm.
And again, then you have Zach Taylor. So it's like, as much as I want to fade the Steelers, it's not impossible. But then I was looking at the rest of
Yeah.
the divisions, right? So, okay, so AFC East, I think is still Vrabel until further
Yeah.
notice. AFC North, I think we both agree Mike McCarthy until we see what Minter and Munkin are going to do. AFC South, where would you go? You have Cohen, you have D'Amico Ryans, you have Shane Steichen, and now you have the addition of Robert Saleh.
I like.
Because I know you're a Cohen guy. Well, actually, I
I
shouldn't
think I'm
say
more.
that. I think you're just more of a
Yeah.
Cohen guy than me. I don't know if I should say you're a Cohen guy, though.
Yeah. I think in this, I feel like this is not only that. I do think D'Amico Ryans is a very good head coach, but I just think the deficiency in the offense is what's going to always be the end of him.
Yeah.
And because I mean they've tried
And he
changing
doesn't have a
they tried changing
quarterback who
offensive
can make up
coordinator.
for it at all.
Exactly, and they keep changing offensive coordinators, trying to figure it out. They got kind of like a uh, I don't want to say a long way to go, but they do have work to do on the offensive line, and it just feels like it just feels like there was a point where it seemed like uh, Lawrence was kind of like he kind of finally it clicked for him with
Yeah.
Liam Cohen. Like and it just I feel like fully bought in. I think they're going to be able to get start the season running, and I think I'd go with Liam Cohen in that situation.
All right. So Liam Cohen, AFC South. And then last in the AFC would be AFC West. It's AFC West is a tricky one for me because I want to default to Andy Reid, but there's a part of me that feels like I don't know that that's the right move.
Hmm.
I mean, I guess I still will default to the Chiefs because of the combo of Reid and them still having Spagnuolo.
Yeah.
But I think as much as I hate to say it, I feel like the combination of Sean Payton and Vance Joseph have a claim to stake,
Yeah.
and as much as I don't know, like Jim Harbaugh is kind of goofy, but what now that they've added Adam Gase, I feel like they take a little step back. So, but the
Yeah.
combination when they first brought in Mike McDaniel, I was like, yo, that might be a coaching staff to look out for too. But I don't know what they're thinking with Adam Gase coming out there.
Yeah.
I don't know
And
what
I mean
his
they also
role is
lost.
going to be, but just him being there makes me uncomfortable.
I mean they also lost Minter, so you could see that defense taking a step back as
Have
well.
they
So
hired a D coordinator to replace him yet?
I haven't. I don't think I've seen it. I don't think.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know. I always kind of just assume that a Jim Harbaugh, although he's not a defensive coach, I always just assume that a Jim Harbaugh led team is going, no matter who the D coordinator is going to be, they're just going to be a team that can play good defense.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's AFC, and then NFC. NFC. For me, the hardest ones were the North and the South. NFC North, where do you go in terms of best coach? Because I feel like obviously right now Dan Campbell is the most. He has the best resume. He's the most accomplished coach of what he's done with the Lions the last couple of years. But after having a bit of a dip this season, losing Ben Johnson, and then Ben Johnson having such a good season in the same
Yeah.
division, I don't know where to go. Do you go Ben Johnson? I mean, I think they have I think all of their coaches are good coaches. I think overall they probably are the best coached division right now. Cuz
Yeah. So
I
I
could
mean
make a case for
it's
any of
definitely
them. I
close.
still like O'Connell quite a bit. I think if you give him a quarterback, I still like O'Connell quite a bit, and I still think Mike LaFleur, although he didn't have a great year this year, especially in that playoff game. I still think Mike LaFleur is a good coach as well. So I don't know where I would go in NFC North.
I think I would lean with the Bears only because I don't know. I think maybe the Lions have kind of tapped out, what they can get from Goff. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying, I'm not saying anything definitive, but I just, like at some point, you kind of are what you are, and I don't know. There's a lot of kind of personalities there. Some of these people got to start getting paid,
And there's part of me
and
that feels like it's gonna be a more of a, like I feel like the Lions were up here, and then this past season they had a little dip. There's a part of me that
yeah,
feels like this season's gonna be a big dip. I feel like they're gonna
yeah,
lose even more players
uh-huh.
than they did last year. Like I know that they've already talked about uh, Aaron Glenn looking to bring in some of the better defensive players that he coached with the Lions defense, bringing them over
Yeah,
to the Jets.
because last year a lot of them weren't free agents.
Yeah, exactly.
So I see it maybe if he picks two off of there, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
it's like you're still they have a mentality, and if you're taking some of that mentality away, that kind of obviously could try to find replacements in the draft and everything like that. But
Yeah.
just
Oh, 1 second.
but I don't know. I just think that I think they're losing a little bit of kind of like that, you know, what made them the Lions, were kind of like punch you in the face or run around, run through you, run around you, be aggressive and all that. So I just feel like I just feel like combined with like losing Ben Johnson, who also has kind of like, well, from what I've seen, kind of like that maniac personality, and losing some of those players. I've kind of seen, you know, some of the stuff that I've seen from like David Montgomery, kind of being a little bit unhappy, and I don't know, and just like anytime I see like, because I have this feeling with Micah Parsons as well. Like when you have a player that's always into like other stuff off the field, like, and he's one of your best players, I kind of like, I kind of, not that I can't take you serious, but it just like, I don't know, like if like some of the stuff he's saying it's kind of rubbing. Like I just don't like that. Like one of your star players with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I just feel like he's kind of made this little turn where he's kind of like more into the fame of it and stuff. So I just feel like there's a lot of personalities there, and some of these, Ben Johnson, kind of knew how to keep all of those in check. Like throwing a bomb to Jameson Williams. When he'll end up with two catches, but it'll be 86 yards and a touchdown. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like kind of, I just feel like they're losing a little bit of that. And we saw with the offensive line what kind of happened, and then you had like Ragnow saying he was going to come back, and then he wasn't able to come back. It's just like they've lost a lot of pieces that kind of made them them. So I think I would go with Ben Johnson in the North.
Okay. So then another difficult division. I still go McVay, but that's a tough one, NFC West. Obviously, we got to give respect to Mike McDonald. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan is forever a threat.
Yeah,
And now we have
Clint
the other
Kubiak.
LaFleur with the Kubiak went to the
Oh yeah,
Raiders, no?
yeah. So he's losing a coach. I
So
kind of like. I kind of
LaFleur
like.
went to the Cardinals, right?
Yeah. But I'm more so kind of like excited to see what happens with Raheem. Like I feel like Raheem Morris, um, like in terms of like what the replacement of the top guys that they lost were. I feel like I mean, I don't know if they've completely, you know, with the Rams and with the I don't know if they've replaced and obviously with the offense, McVay's still calling the plays, but I just think that Raheem Morris, when he's doing his thing with just on defense, he doesn't have to worry about all this goofy shit. I think he's on his A game, and he
Yeah.
has the familiarity with him. So I just feel like when there's continuity there already.
Yeah,
So I
well, I
think
was
I would go with
surprised that
Shanahan.
Raheem Morris didn't. Why didn't he go back to the Rams?
Um,
Like that
that's a good
surprised
point. I
me
don't know.
because
Yeah,
if you want to talk about continuity, that's where he
yeah.
came from when he went to the Falcons, and that spot opened up seemingly just in time for him to land right back there. I mean,
Mm,
obviously, I almost feel like it almost feels like the Rams and the 49ers are almost, especially when it comes to coaching staffs, they're almost like interchangeable because
yeah.
so many of the guys are like, connected through the coaching
Hmm.
tree or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess maybe the Rams. I guess they're gonna go with Shula,
Yeah.
right? They're just gonna stick with Shula
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
because he ended up not getting any of the head coaching jobs, and he didn't leave, right? He's
mhm.
still there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
I
I
mean,
I
I,
personally I'm a McVay guy, but um I don't know how I view the Rams next year because
that's another team that I feel like they're going to lose a couple pieces. I know they have cap room, but I just feel like they're going to lose a couple pieces, and I don't like what I'm seeing from like Puka Nakua. Like the off the field kind of stuff. He's kind of like popping up. That's one of like similar to what I was saying about Amon Ra. I feel like he wants to be famous now, and he's like doing a lot of this extra stuff. And I just don't like when stuff like that starts happening with a team, and kind of like the little things that you see, like breaking at the seams a little bit. And I don't know. I I still think that they're all going to be right there, but in this case I'm going to give the edge to the 49ers.
so NFC South, where do you go? Because to me, I feel like I can't say Bowles. I feel like Bowles is. I feel like this is his last year with the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
I just that's just how I feel like that's gonna go, and then I feel like I mean I think this guy what the hell's his name, the Saints guy, Kellen Moore. I feel like he had a
Yeah,
pretty good year, surprisingly good year. I
got
don't
better towards the
know.
end.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to translate to next year or not. Um,
Mm.
I almost feel like, sort of like, by default, it ends up being Canales,
I don't
unless
hate
you
it.
want
I
to
don't hate
give
it.
it to Stefanski in his first year. I mean, I think that there's a part of me that wants to take the Falcons to win that division next year, especially given the price that they're at right now. They're plus 390. Like I'm shocked that the Saints have better odds to win that division than the Falcons do.
That's odd.
I'm that surprised me, but the Panthers, no respect, still have the worst odds to win the division.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously you have the NFC East where you have a very successful team in the Eagles that nobody has any real respect for their coach. Dan Quinn. I think I would go Dan Quinn in the East right now. I don't really know what to make of the staff because have they hired an OC yet? Because there's no.
I don't know about OC. I think they hired a defensive coordinator though.
I don't really care who the DC is because the DC is Dan Quinn. So whoever they hire defensive coordinator, I don't really care. Like I know what that defense is going to be as long as Dan Quinn is there. But as far as offensive coordinator, that's going to be a real big deal because they don't really have a ton of pieces in terms of skill position players that I have a ton of confidence in, aside from obviously if he could stay healthy. Why is his name escaping me? Jaden Daniels, exactly. But I don't really know that I expect a ton from Debo and Terry McLaurin. I feel like they could be good if they have a good OC in place who uses them to their best of their ability. I think that there are some pieces there, but I got to see who the OC is first before I just assume that. Yeah. Like just on the strength of Debo Samuel alone, that they're gonna, and they got to get a little bit more of a running game going. But anyway, do you have any big leans in terms of division winners next year or potential Super Bowl matchup next year? Any teams that you like?
I like to look at kind of like what happens after the draft because. That all depends, like, how I feel about certain players. Like, for example, let's say in the example of
For me, it's Commanders, more the schedule than the draft.
Well, yeah, and also how it sets up, like where they're going back and forth and
that's what I'm saying. Not even the schedule in terms of who they're playing, but in terms of how it lays out. Who they're playing is obviously important, but like where they're, what kind of travel, how many primetime games they're going to have. Because I feel like that was another thing that the Patriots benefited from a great deal was not having a ton of late primetime games, not having a ton of traveling, international games.
Yeah.
Although I say all that about the Patriots, I still feel like they're the best value to win the division right now.
Yeah, I mean,
because right now the Bills are still the favorite. The Bills are minus 110 to win the AFC East. The Patriots are plus 110. If I had to take one of those two bets, I'm still taking the Patriots at the price, especially because I still feel like the Patriots have the better coach. I don't know what they think they're going to get out of Joe Brady. I mean, obviously
he was already
not
there.
That much change in terms of offense, but
it's almost
it could
just
be
like
worse. Like it could drop off. We've seen lots of guys that when they get in the head seat, their side of the ball ends up falling apart.
And that's another guy that you don't know, like, is Josh Allen trying to take too much control over, like, what's going on? Like I said, I had him sitting in on interviews for head coaches and all that. And it was just, everything was clunky about it. And I don't know. I just feel like that's one where you're going to see, we might be seeing what this guy was holding all together. It just feels like it felt almost like a power struggle. You know what I'm saying? And and I think that Josh Allen won, and just like we see here,
to me they're the most unserious team in the league. So
yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I just think once you go that route, and you're kind of exposing yourself as like extra goofy, I just think that's slowly that's going to trickle out of control.
Yeah. All right. So division winners. Let's just run through them real quick. Just off the top of your head, reflex, nothing you're married to, but just if you had to think about what you're forecasting for next year. AFC East,
I'm gonna go with Patriots. So further notice.
Patriots. AFC North.
I do like the Bengals just because how often, they got to win one, eventually.
Yeah, I feel like next year is going to be their best choice. They're coming in with the
Yeah.
continuity. If they can just stay healthy. I saw Chase and Higgins doing some Radio Row shit, and they seem like they're trying to have a bounce back year, which, what does that mean? It doesn't really mean anything, but AFC South. Jags repeat. Do the Colts get a
Jags.
bounce back? Texans, what do you think? Jags?
Jags.
Okay. AFC West. Chiefs come back. Is it the Chargers right now have the best odds? Better than the Chiefs. Or the best odds.
I don't know. I think I kind of like the Broncos, man. They're not flashy, but they get it done.
Okay, you're going Broncos. NFC East. Eagles have the best odds, then Cowboys, then Commies, then Giants.
I'm going to go with the Eagles.
Going with the Eagles, huh? Wow. Okay. I can't go Eagles there. There's no way.
I just feel like they're going to get rid of A.J. Brown, and that's kind of going to help a little bit. Like the overall vibes.
It's not even that. I just don't think that they'll win the division 3 years in a row. NFC North. Bears repeat. Lions surprisingly have the best odds, better than the Packers.
Really? No, I'm going with the Bears there, man. I feel like
yeah. I think especially given the price, the fact that you got Lions at 160, Packers at 180, Bears at plus 350.
Yeah.
NFC South.
I'm going to go with the Panthers, man.
Going with the long shot Panthers, plus 425. I want to go Panthers, but I think I got to go Falcons. The only reason I don't want to go Falcons is because of this bullshit that that James Pierce got himself roped up in like a fool, man. What a nut. He's lucky he didn't get shot down.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
NFC West. Is it a Seahawks repeat? Is it a Rams? Is it a Niners? Rams have the best odds at 155. Seahawks 160. Niners 250.
I'm gonna go with the I'm gonna go with the Rams.
Going with the Rams. Okay. All right. So now for me, I don't really disagree with any of those. I just now from a price point standpoint, if I was gonna like bet on who I think has whose odds I think are not commiserate with the price. I like the Patriots at the second longest odds. I would love to try to talk myself into Jets or Dolphins at these humongous numbers, but I don't know.
You gotta see how some of that stuff shakes out first.
Yeah, it's tough. Ravens being favored to win the AFC North, I think, is a bad bet. I feel like the Bengals having the second best odds. I gotta say, given the fact that I still feel like Mike McCarthy is the best coach in the league, I don't know what to expect from the Ravens. I wouldn't be shocked to see them have a disaster year. Steelers at plus 425 to win that division. I don't mind the Steelers. I actually don't even mind the Browns at 11-1. I mean, it's the Browns, but it's 11-1 in a division that I feel like is a lot more wide open than those odds would suggest. AFC South, I can't talk myself into the Titans at plus 750. I don't mind the Colts at plus 350. I feel like if they're, I gotta feel like, do we assume Daniel Jones is coming back?
Yeah, but I mean,
like in time for the season to start?
Yeah, but how can we, we can assume that he comes back, but him coming back from injury, I don't know what we can assume in terms of on the field.
Yeah, I don't know. I still feel like the Colts, I just feel like they are aggressive. I feel like they're going, especially given the way that last year kind of flamed out. I feel like next year they're going to be an aggressive team, especially considering how aggressive
Yeah.
they were last year with the trades and shit like that. And our girl Carly, I think she's real determined. I don't know if they may need to make some more trades. I don't know what they'll do, but I just feel like they're going to be aggressive. Jacksonville, I think it's going to be interesting to see if they can take another step next year, because they're not going to sneak up on anybody next year. They're going to have a first place schedule next year. So we'll see how they navigate that. And then the Texans is very tough. They're plus 155. They have the best odds to win the division, but
C.J. Stroud.
that C.J. Stroud was scary, man. It's hard to really invest anything in the Texans with how scary C.J. Stroud looked. For them to be a favorite is tough. I think the Broncos at the price are the best bet. Them having the third best odds to win the AFC West just doesn't seem right. Even though I'm worried about them with a first place schedule and with not sneaking up on anybody, but I feel like they're still they haven't really lost a ton. I don't expect them to lose a ton this offseason. So I feel like they're like a if they could add one significant skill position player, like a go-to
like even like a Kenneth
playmaker.
Walker.
Yeah, somebody who I don't even know who would be a potentially available candidate for something like that. Like, I don't even really know who the major free agents are going to be going into this season on like at least from on the offensive side of the ball. Is Breece Hall a unrestricted free agent?
Yeah.
Because Breece Hall, if he ends up with the Broncos, that would be interesting. I mean, I don't know that he would, because
he got injured there.
he's not had the best fortune in Denver, but somebody like that, somebody who's
a
somebody
game
who's
breaker.
available, who can really be a playmaker threat for them on offense. Because I feel like that's the one thing that they're missing.
They got
but I still like them at the
They got
price.
they got a lot of guys, but not like not like the guy.
Yeah. With the NFC East, I like the Giants at the price. Because that's another one where I feel like
there's no real stability in that. There's everything. Every team has a wart. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's going to be a lot closer than what you're like the odds are dictating. And maybe there's one of those things where it's like, maybe they don't have a great record, but they're going to be like hovering around 500, and then a couple things here and there go in their favor, and they could end up winning it. You know what I'm saying? With all the stuff that happens with all the other teams.
Yeah, and I just feel like if I'm, like I said, the whole point of the exercise is if I'm looking for teams to sort of label as next year's X, right? If I'm looking for, I feel like they so obviously profile as the potential next year's Patriots in terms of a second-year quarterback, first-year coach who's going to come in and kind of set some structure. Not first year with the team, but an experienced coach who has respect and is going to set structure for the organization, team that has some skill, especially on the defensive side, and that will have a last place schedule. The Giants at plus 700 there are interesting to me. I just feel like the Commanders, I like them at plus 500 with Jaden Daniels, but man. I just feel like
too much is riding on Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, and they're just an old team, and I'm assuming that they're not going to run it back with Bobby Wagner. He's going to retire, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's got to be close.
I mean,
if he stays on to kind of mentor,
like the career tackles, like milestone, he broke that at I think the last game of the season, as shown on Hard Knocks. That was the only reason I knew that he broke that record. But I feel like that's my only problem with the Commanders is that I don't know if that was like a 1-year wonder with them last year. There's just not a lot there for me to lean on. NFC North, I think I got to go with the Bears. I was trying to talk myself into the Vikings at plus 700, if because they were able to retain Brian Flores. They still have a lot of skill on the offensive side of the ball. It's just a matter if they can figure it out with J.J. McCarthy, and I don't know that I'm willing to bet on that, but I think so. For that
Yeah,
reason, I think the Bears would have to be the go-to. But it's just that the Bears are just so iffy because as
I know
impressed
that.
as I was with them by the end of the season, they won so like it's just the classic like the team that wins a lot of close games does not repeat that the following year. That would be my worry. NFC South, I think you're right. I think Panthers with the longest odds. I like the Falcons, but I don't love I don't love Kevin Stefanski. I'm not a big
Yeah.
Stefanski guy, and I mean we'll see what Michael Penix does. Do we know what's gonna happen with the quarterback there? I'm
No,
assuming that they're not gonna have Kirk Cousins, but who
it's like
knows?
4 leg injuries. So
Yeah, and then finally you have the NFC West. I want to say 49ers because they're plus 250, but I don't know, man. And not until they move away from that power plant. Motherfuckers are shredding their limbs all
yeah,
limb from limb. But anyway,
yeah. But
that's it,
I gotta
man.
head
Year's
out.
over. Year's
My back
over.
is back is starting to hurt.
Yes.
You know,
Happy
I'm trying to
Super
fight up.
Bowl.
Yeah.
Go get some rest. It's been you've been carrying the show from a pick standpoint. That's probably why your back is hurting. Finally, after a
Yeah.
long, hard season, you're gonna have to have surgeries, and you're gonna have to,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you're gonna have to go to rehab and take care of your
Yeah.
body after
Get back for
carrying the
the
picks.
get back ready for the for training camp.
Yeah, get ready for training camp. But we'll do something. We got some time before anything consequential NFL happens. We have the draft next 2 months away.
Combine. Yeah.
So, we could do combine. We'll do
Football dorks is back.
yes. We'll be back in some form or fashion. But no word life today. But we'll get his thoughts at some point when there's giant news. Um, the only giant news we need to get his perspective on is the Tish involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. See what he says
Yeah.
about that. But until then, sayonara. See you later. Adios.
All right, my brother.